I think technology is a necessary tool because it's what our whole world relies on. So whether or not you get into a career as a coder or an electrical engineer where you're using a lot of technology, it is in our banking, it's at the grocery store, it's in everything that you do, and not having the skills to use it is really a detriment to kids or anybody really. So using technology as a tool for everything is just helping them be more successful in life, and as you go, having those skills lets you realize, oh, here's a problem that I could solve because I'm connected to technology. And it lets us connect to people all over, no matter where we live. So,
Students use technology already. They're so comfortable with it by the time that I see them as students. It's just kind of an extension of their learning. I had students ask me, if I don't know the answer to something, can I look it up? I said the answer to that is absolutely. That's why we're here. We use technology to find out what we don't know.
Where do you start?
I think you start with connecting with other educators and just telling people who use technology, what's one thing I could do in my classroom? So Twitter is a great place to connect with people from your local universities or technology conferences, and just picking that one thing and then asking for honest input from the students. So when I was making changes into Project Lead the Way and using new technology even for me, I would ask the students, what do you like about this? How did it work? Or they would say, there's this really cool website that I like to use, and then we would build it into the project. So they're more invested because they had a choice, and they're teaching you, and they're teaching their peers. So they're learning more, and they are actually want to complete the project. So student input, finding information online, and then just picking one thing. But also, like, your attitude is a huge thing for teachers also. And you have to be optimistic about it and also be willing to learn about technology.
How can technology support core classes?
You can integrate technology as little or as much as you want to. And I don't think it needs to be something additional, like an extra thing that I have to do for my class. Technology can accomplish things in easier ways than what is currently being done oftentimes. I've had students come and ask me how to do something with an app that they're going to use for their science fair project. So it's, I would say, interdisciplinary. It kind of incorporates other disciplines. At the same time, other disciplines incorporate technology.
Whatever content area you're teaching, by using technology to plan, you're making it easier on yourself. You don't have to create a lesson. You can find things that are already online, so using your searching strategies, you can find information and connect with people. And when you're using technology in the classroom, hopefully it's for what students are creating and making, and they should be the ones taking the lead on the learning. So from my standpoint, I need to be prepared, and I need to have specific guidelines and things I want for my students, a quality rubric, but then the work is on them to complete it. So it shouldn't be the teacher doing a lot of all of this work and material. To not be afraid of technology, and like anything, if a student doesn't know how to use something, you teach them how to use it. And among technology teachers, there's this kind of saying that if a student misbehaves with a pencil, you don't ban them from using a pencil the rest of the year in your class. That's kind of ridiculous to think. But if a student misbehaves using their cell phone or technology, we think, oh, we must ban them from using it, and we don't teach them how to use that tool. So there's also a quote online from a student that says, you give us this pool of water, which is technology, everything that's available to them, but you don't teach us how to swim. You just let us drown in it. And I think that's really critical, that we have this amazing opportunity for students, and it's on us to teach them how to use it. And it's okay to not know how to do it, but it's not okay to not even make it an option for students right now in this day and age.
Don't be afraid to break stuff. The worst you can do is screw something up to the point where it has to be reinstalled, or you're not going to permanently break anything.
How have you seen students react to technology? What's the feedback you get from them?
At first students are a little bit apprehensive. When I say, for example, you can resubmit things as many times as you want to, they say, are you sure? Or, are you sure I can go look this up to find out the answer? Because they're so used to the traditional way of doing things. But once, it doesn't take them very long. Students are amazingly adaptable. The other thing is I think it's less of a barrier than it used. It removes barriers, I should say, from things that used to be difficult for students. Spelling is one. Students, when I went to school that couldn't spell, that's what they did, is they practiced spelling over and over and over. With technology, it removes that barrier with things like spell check, and their ability to communicate with others is increased as a result.
So when I first started, it was like a basic computer class. So we would go over keyboarding, like computer fundamentals, kind of basic vocabulary, and a little bit of project-based learning that was more apps-based. So using Microsoft Word, how to search for information, digital citizenship. And it was okay. The kids weren't engaged. It was kind of a lot of pulling teeth to get them to do certain things. And they liked the project piece at the end because they got to choose something that they were interested in. But I still wanted to fix the part that was like pulling teeth, if it was such a challenge. And I also kind of questioned if I needed to spend so much time on basic skills that, what do students really need to be able to do? And then as I started doing more of the project lead the way, it's not really pulling teeth for things for students. It's, opening kind of possibilities for them and giving them those choices, and they drive the class. The previous principal, Shane Byer, had experience with Project Lead the Way at the high school level, and there are students who have actually gotten patents on their projects they've completed in high school. They've been offered full ride college scholarships, jobs as engineers. I mean, he wanted that opportunity for our students in the middle school, so he just needed a teacher who was willing to say, okay, sure. So I went to training that summer and did the first classes, and I think the reason I was willing to do it is because I wanted something more for our students. I didn't think a basic computer class was really cutting it for what our students are capable of and the type of learning that I wanted them to have. So it's a nonprofit organization, and they have coursework all the way K through 12. So they have a launch program for the elementary. They have the Gateway to Technology for middle schoolers, which is 8 or more modules in STEM content, and then they have actual high school classes that students can take for credit. And it's set up to be activity-based and then problem or project-based. So students work through some activities and information that give them the background info they need, and then they go on to do a project. It is a culminating piece of each unit.
Tell me about some of the projects you do for students.
My students do. So students learn how to, they kind of learn the logic of programming through computer science, and they build a series of apps for their Android-based applications. For the final project, the students go interview members of the community to evaluate their needs for an application, which not only gives them gives them an opportunity to practice what they've learned, but it also gives them a chance to learn important life skills like making eye contact and responding appropriately to feedback. And then they come back and they build an app based on the needs of the people they interview.
And now I'm thinking about how to connect globally. So some of the students that are interviewed talk about the Penguin Project and everything, and they partnered with the school in Norway. So they actually asked questions of students in Norway. The students in Norway went and asked a zookeeper and all of their questions. They filmed it, they subtitled it, and they sent it back to my students for their research. And I think that's kind of, the new thought is, how can you connect globally with people? And it really, students were like, wow, that's a lot of similar things to us, because when we started the project, they did a background on spearfish, and then the students in Norway did the same, and they shared these slideshows back and forth, and so they were comparing. Here's things that are the same in their culture, here's things that are different, why do they do things this way? And so we had this whole sub-conversation about cultures and learning, and none of that would have been possible without technology, using Google Slides to connect with a school in Norway. So these are some of the projects the kids made for Energy and the Environment.
So they had to come up with alternative energy solutions in their groups to solve a current energy problem. So our dependence on a fossil fuel and using an alternative energy source, come up with a product that would solve that problem. So this group wanted to make transportation, so they made like a solar power type of device that would stick off from their motorcycle. And then this group made a house that would have like a hydropower system in the basement that they could use to power. And so they had to sketch their ideas, come up with information about the alternative energy source, and then create a prototype out of basic recyclable classroom materials. And then for 3D printing, so we have done, for design and modeling, they get to, you know, learn about the things in design houses, and then they can also design to 3D print. So current 7th grader made this in his spare time after learning how to 3D model. It goes on one of our robots. It's a chariot. So this was the first prototype that didn't work. And then this is the second model. Was 10 hours of printing and assembly that he did all in his own spare time before and after school, just because he wanted to apply what he had learned about that. Students have also like to print like different types of keychains. So we've done keychains for like Makerspace. We have Spartan Pride at our school, so we've been coming up with different keychains that students can print as like award type of things for Spartan Pride. We keep all of like the failed prints too, the plastic rafts the kids want to keep, anything that comes off the 3D printer. This was a miniature basketball hoop attempt that broke. People made dog tags like for their pets last year. That's a student designed product. So we've kind of done just a lot of different things, and the kids keep it, so we don't have a lot of their stuff that they've made, because once they design it, they get to take it home.
And we can talk more about that,
Yeah.
I think, on the 31st.
I don't know that I have any other projects around the room.
Okay.